Hi guys, Richard Kelsey from Beer Cartel, and I'm joined with Geoff Huens from Beer Cartel.
Hello everyone, hope you're all well.
We thought we'd have a quick chat. We've just released, or just about to release, Australia's ultimate top 50 beers for 2019. Tell us about this, Geoff.
So that's the booklet there, Rich. It's a booklet that we've released for the last 3 years. First started in 2017, and it's the ultimate top 50 beers. So what we do to collate this list is we take 4 of the most well-known beer lists around: Untapped, Rate Beer, Beer Advocate, and the Gab's Hottest 100. And we take the top 50 beers from each of those, and then we collate them based on the number of times it kind of appears in each of the lists.
Yeah, right. And so what was the kind of idea behind this when we first created it?
So, a few years ago I was kind of seeing all these different lists, and some of it was quite subjective, where it was one person's opinion on here's the top 10 beers. Then there was Gabs that kind of came out with their list, and you look at Untapped. And one thing I was kind of really thinking about was that the lists always have different nuances and different biases, and the idea is if we kind of combine all 4 lists, we're trying to remove some of those biases.
Yeah, right. So as an example, I'm guessing, Gabs probably overperforms in beers that have bigger distribution, bigger marketing. So the likes of Stone & Wood Pacific Ale, always right up the very top.
Yeah, there's elements of that. There's elements like, say, with Untapped, for example, it's people that are then kind of the next level along because they have downloaded an app. They're then checking in their different beers, so they're probably along their craft beer journey a little bit more, while Gabs is a lot easier to vote on because you just jump online. It's once a year that it's done, while Untapped is throughout the whole year, and then their top 50 list is kind of updated continuously based on how many ratings are being done for different beers. You then have Rate Beer and Beer Advocate, which were kind of the historical platforms that were always used 5 years ago, and they're the grandfathers of the beer world in terms of rating websites and platforms. But then they have their own SKUs as well, where they kind of have more North American users.
Yeah, and probably more advanced users as well.
Oh, exactly. So
it's pretty complicated to do a rating on Rate Beer or Beer Advocate.
Yeah,
although I think it's become easier on Rate Beer these days.
Yeah, so Rate Beer, as some of you may know, was acquired by AB InBev, so the largest brewery in the world. They acquired a 50% stake in 2018 or 17 from memory, and then acquired the full stake in 2019, earlier this year in February. And they've actually started to implement ways that are actually a little bit more like Untapped, which is you can give a quick check-in rating out of 5, while historically I think both Beer Advocate and Rate Beer, you had to have both a rating and a minimum character comment about the beer.
Yeah, right. Okay. So pretty. It's had a lot of people that have voted or contributed to this list.
Yeah. So that was the other thing, is that this is pretty robust. So across all the lists, the total number of votes or ratings that were used is over 200,000. So it's quite robust and in a list in terms of the data that's kind of come out of it.
Yeah, cool. Was there anything else you wanted to say before you get into the top 3?
No, I think do you want to do top 3 first, and then we'll talk a little bit about some of the key findings and the key outcomes out of it. So the top 3, which is being revealed. So number 1.
Do you start from number 3?
Let's go number 3. Congratulations to the team at Stone & Wood with their Pacific Ale. It's featured a number of times in a number of lists, and they've just hit their 10 years of brewing and hit 12 million litres, I think.
Yeah, right.
So they are one of the biggest small breweries, if that makes sense, independently owned. So it's great to see them in spot number 3.
Yeah, they're a true stalwart of the Australian craft beer scene. So Brad Rogers, who was the head brewer there, originated from Matilda Bay. Right back many years ago, so it's a team that had a lot of experience in craft beer and good beer even before they started Stone & Wood.
Yeah. So it's great to see them, based in Byron Bay on the mid-north coast of New South Wales. So if you're ever driving through that region, we highly recommend dropping in. Number 2 on the list, do you want to reveal this one?
Sure. So Bent Spoke Cluster 8 double IPA, one of my favourites.
Yeah, so Bent Spoke, 5 years old? Something along those lines.
Yeah,
so
along those
Richard
lines.
Watkins used to brew at the Wigan Pen in Canberra. So they're based down in the ACT. He's a good expat Novocastrian, Richard. He's based down there. They've got their brew pub as well as their big cannery that they brew their beers out of. But some exceptional beers, both when Richard was at the Wigan Pen, and then he's basically crafted that skill even further and opened up his own brewery with Bent Spoke. So
yeah, and Cluster 8 was one of my absolute favourites the last year. I actually took it home when my father came over from New Zealand for a visit, and he was very impressed. So.
Nice. And it only gets released 1 or 2 times a year, so it is reasonably limited in its access for the general public.
And so number
1 goes to Bolter Double IPA. So again, another limited release. Bolter have gotten some very good wins over the years with their XPA, which I think won Gabs last year, and this year as well. From memory, I think it took both the first spots.
Yeah,
or was it just this year?
Of the Gabs
Hottest 100, yeah.
Yep.
So this is their double IPA. So it's the tall 500ml can, yellow stripes on it, and released twice to 2 to 3 times a year.
Yeah, so we've had this twice so far, I think.
Twice so far, and if you haven't seen it in the social feeds, it is being re-released at the start of June.
Exciting time, so it coincides well with this. So
yeah,
big congratulations to Bolter on that achievement. They've haven't been going around very long, and they've really managed to do some amazing things. Obviously headed up with the head brewer Scott Hargrove, who's gone from award to award with the different breweries that he's worked with.
Yeah, and they're Queensland based, so if you're going up the east coast of Australia, you can start in Canberra, drop into Byron Bay, and keep going up to see Bolter on the Gold Coast. And have the top 3 beers on the east coast. So yeah, very, very cool to have those. We will be looking to release a limited pack featuring some of the beers from the Ultimate Top 50, so keep an eye out for that. And I guess now it's time to roll into some of the key findings.
Yeah, so tell me some of the key takeouts that you've got from this year. So you did all the work, so I'll let you do the talking.
The biggest takeout that I could kind of see, and it reflects some of the findings that we have from the work that you do with the Australian Craft Beer Survey that's done every year, and that is the rise of the independents and some of the loss of traction that the multinationals are having within the craft beer space. So the multinationals are buying breweries, so CUB or AB InBev had bought Four Pines and Pirate Life, and Coca-Cola had purchased Feral back in 2017. And what we are seeing is, compared to the 2018 Ultimate Top 50 list, where they had 29% were multinational beers. So almost 1 in 3 beers were multinational beers in the 2018 list. That's dropped to 6%. So they only have 3 beers. And you also have the likes of Mountain Goat and Four Pines, which aren't featuring in this year's list.
At all. Yeah. Right.
So previously those beers kind of were featuring, and now they haven't featured. And the ones that do feature are, you've got Feral Tusk, which is now owned by Coca-Cola, Pirate Life Double IPA, which is Carlton United Breweries or AB InBev, and Furphy from Lion. And it's the first time that Furphy has actually made it into the list as well.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. So, you don't have James Squire, but you've got Furphy that's made it into the list. So.
Which I think then highlights another thing, which is Furphy is kind of, it's a new brand. Their branding, I think, is now being copied by CUB with the Frothy.
Yeah.
So I think it's really hit a bit of a tone with the demographic they're wanting to get into it. It's a Lion Nathan or a Lion brand through Little Creatures, but it's kind of has its own standalone brand. So it's not being marketed as a Little Creatures beer. It's called a refreshing ale. Yeah. So the other thing is like, what is a refreshing ale? It actually took me a little while to find out what the style is, because the different rating sites and different blogs and stuff have different descriptions of what the actual style is, but it's actually a Kolsch.
Yeah,
so
right.
It's an easy drinking ale.
Yeah,
Really.
I saw that because one site had Untapped, I think, had it listed as an English Pale Ale, and then
Yeah.
someone else had it listed as a Kolsch. And
Yeah.
so
No, but I found that it was on the Furphy website or one of their back pages that talked about the birth of it was the birth around a Kolsch.
Yeah,
So
right.
that's the style that they were kind of going for. So Kolsch's being from Cologne and in Germany, and being an easy drinking ale, we always kind of describe it as an ale that is designed to drink like a lager.
Yeah.
So
And interestingly, of the 3 beers from the multinationals that actually made it into the top 50, the Feral Tusk that came in number 10, they were I think that they were the first keg only beer, and maybe the only keg only beer in your top 50.
Quite possibly. I don't think I'd actually analysed it by keg versus package, but I think they are. I think you might be right.
And so in Feral Tusk, I don't even know if it actually came out last year, but they have Tusk Day.
Tusk Day, yeah.
And so that's done once or twice a year, and they all keg, or they pour the Tusk kegs tap them on a specific day. So.
Yeah, and so there's usually a few bars around Sydney and Brisbane and Melbourne that are tapping it at a specific time on a specific day, and that's the release of Tusk for that year. So it's interesting, and even back to the Furphy thing, they only just scraped in at number 44. So it's not that Furphy kind of made it in a very, very top spot. And looking at it, last year's list, 2018, there were 4 multinationals in that top 10.
Yeah.
Now there's only 1, and that was Feral Tusk at number 10. So again, it's kind of only just scraped into that top 10. So the independents, congratulations, you guys are really it's thriving. The industry's thriving. It's thriving around that independent brewery.
Yeah, and I think off the back of that work, so I was just reading some stats just today. It was saying that 10% of beer value sold in Australia actually is by the independents.
Yeah.
So it does heighten that the independent craft beer scene in Australia is really contributing quite strongly to the Australian economy.
And that's 10% by value and 5% by volume.
5.9% by volume.
Yeah,
so
6%.
Yeah. So
that's pretty good.
So, what's your next point?
I'm not quite sure. Okay, that's right. Just having a look at my notes here. So, want to congratulate both Bolter and Bent Spoke. Something to do with bees, right? Breweries that start with bees are doing pretty well at the moment.
1 and 2.
They basically got 5 beers each in the top 50. So between the two of them, they got 10 beers.
Yeah, great work.
So yeah, very, very good work from those guys. And the other interesting stat that I found interesting is Victoria leads the way in terms of the number of beers that are placing that top 50 are coming from Victoria.
Yeah, right. Even though that the top 5 beers, there's not one there from Victoria.
That's true. And then interestingly, there's actually nothing from Northern Territory, although there's not many breweries there. I think there's only the one. And then in the past there has been Tasmanian brewery, but no Tasmanian breweries in this year.
Yeah, sure.
So 2 Metre Tall had made it in previous years in 2017 and 2018, but sadly Ashley didn't make the cut. So hopefully we can see them dip in future years.
You've got a point on New England IPAs there?
Yeah, so last year we saw New England's being a style that was starting to come out. I think at Gabs last year, 2018, is when you had beers from, for example, Akasha had released their New England IPA, and we kind of started seeing this momentum kind of happening. And you do see that there is a doubling in the percentage of New England IPAs that do feature in the top 50. So it's gone from 6% to 12%. So,
right. And what is 1%? One beer makes up what percent?
One beer is 2%. Yeah.
2%. Okay.
Yeah.
So 6 beers.
Yeah. So it's not massive growth. It's not gone. It's not tripled, or it's not 40% of the list. But still interesting to see that trend. And in terms of the most popular styles, IPAs and pale ales do feature as the most popular styles in the top 50, which is also reflective of the data that comes out of the Australian Craft Beer Survey, which in itself is 18,000 people were surveyed for that, Rich.
That's right.
Yeah. So again, big numbers. And if you were in market research like we previously were, if you've got numbers of 18,000 or you're running data and compiling data on 200,000 ratings or votes, it's pretty comprehensive. So
absolutely.
So that's the key takeouts on the Ultimate Top 50 of 2019.
Cool. And anything else to add?
The last thing is just to talk about the ebook. So all of this is in a 47-page ebook. You might wonder, why the heck is it 47 pages long? It's got tasty notes on all of the beers. It's got information on the beer styles. It's got information on how hard or how easy some of the beers are to find, whether they're limited releases. We do know that some people like to get a list and try and work their way through it.
Yeah.
So that ebook is available as a free download. We'll share the link through our website. But yeah, every year we've released an ebook around it, as well as the commentary and the list, compiling Australia's Ultimate Top 50 beers.
Awesome. Well, I guess that the last thing to say is, congratulations to the top three. So Stone and Wood, Bent Spoke and Bolter.
Yeah.
Another amazing effort from those guys.
Yeah. And thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to releasing next year's list, the 2020.
2020. Sounds good.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
Thanks.